Zara adjusted her hijab with quiet precision, the fabric folding into place as naturally as her breath. She had worn it since she was 15, not because anyone told her to, but because it made her feel grounded. It was her boundary, her identity, her choice. People often described her as soft-spoken, dignified, and reserved. She didn't chase attention. She earned respect by simply existing with calm purpose. In her community, she was the kind of woman mothers pointed to when talking about the right way to raise a daughter. She met Ayan through family. It wasn't love at first sight, but there was something reassuring about him. He was respectful, kind, and ambitious, qualities she valued. He didn't flinch at her modesty. In fact, he admired it. "You're different from the rest," he had said after their third meeting. Those words stayed with her. They married within months, a quiet nikah ceremony surrounded by close family. No drama, no extravagance, just two souls brought together with simplicity. In the early months of marriage, Ayan was affectionate, attentive. He brought her jasmine oil for her hair because she once mentioned she liked the scent. He left her sticky notes with small duas and compliments. He listened when she spoke, made her laugh, and told her he loved the peace her presence gave him. To Zara, this was more than enough. She never asked for grand gestures. His sincerity was her luxury, her daily life was modest but meaningful. She woke early, prayed, cleaned, read, cooked. Ayan would text her during the day, nothing over the top, just a simple thinking of you or a photo of his coffee cup with a note that said missing yours. In her eyes, this was the kind of love her Dean had promised, quiet, faithful, and rooted in respect. Her best friend, Sana, was the opposite. Loud, lively, and fiercely modern. The kind who wore confidence like a designer accessory. She didn't judge Zara, but she often questioned her choices. Why cover so much? Why live so quietly? But there was no hostility in her questions, just curiosity. And Zara never took offense. They had grown up together, and despite their differences, they respected each other. Or so Zara believed. Ayan and Sana got along well, perhaps too well at times, but Zara never thought much of it. She trusted both of them. She had no reason not to. Her life, by every appearance, was full. A good husband, a supportive friend, and a routine that made her feel safe. She didn't crave excitement. She craved stability, and she believed she'd found it. Zara never saw herself as extraordinary. She simply believed in being sincere, in her words, her faith, her marriage. She never pretended to be more than she was. Her hijab was not just a piece of cloth, it was a filter between her and the chaos of the world. A quiet promise to herself that she would not compromise her values, even when the world insisted otherwise. She prayed not just for herself, but for Ayan's success, for his peace, for his heart to always stay close to hers. When he returned home late, she didn't complain. When he forgot anniversaries, she forgave. She believed in giving benefit of the doubt, in patience, in grace. To her, relationships were not about perfection, they were about intention. She smiled often but laughed rarely. There was always something delicate about her presence, like a flower that bloomed in shade. She didn't like conflict, didn't chase attention, didn't argue. She simply adjusted her crown in silence and moved forward. That silence was her strength. A kind of resilience that didn't need to announce itself, and when people asked her how she kept her marriage so strong, she'd say, "I pray for him more than I pray for myself." She believed that love wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It just had to be real. And she was sure, absolutely sure, that hers was. Every sajda, every whispered dua, every softened word was rooted in that certainty. She had no idea that while she was protecting their bond with her prayers, someone else was already pulling its threads apart. The first change was subtle. Ayan stopped texting her during the day. No more little notes, no more check-ins. Zara noticed but didn't question it. Everyone gets busy, she told herself. But soon it became a pattern. Late nights at the office. Missed dinners. Short replies to her long messages. His eyes no longer met hers with softness. They darted away, distracted. She asked if something was wrong. He said everything was fine. But his tone was cold, rehearsed. Something about him had shifted. Zara tried to adjust. She started preparing his favorite meals again. She dressed up, applied light makeup, something she rarely did. She stayed awake for him, waiting with tea in hand, only to hear his key turn past midnight. He'd walk in, barely glance at her, say a tired salam, and head straight to the shower. Conversations were now surface level. He laughed less. She stopped asking too many questions. The silence between them grew, not loud but heavy. One evening, his phone lit up while he was in the shower. The screen read office, but the preview showed a heart emoji. Zara didn't touch it, but something inside her cracked. When he came out, she gently asked who had messaged. He looked at the phone, his face unreadable, then said, "Work stuff." "Don't start overthinking." The way he said it, curt, impatient, left her stunned. She'd asked with calm, but he answered like she'd accused him. Zara spent nights wondering what she was doing wrong. Was she too plain? Too predictable? Was her silence mistaken for weakness? She tried being more affectionate. She tried giving space. Nothing changed. If anything, he grew more distant. He scrolled through his phone with a guarded look, never left it unattended. He now kept it under his pillow when he slept. He deleted call logs, cleared messages. Zara wasn't stupid. She just didn't want to believe what her instincts screamed. Sana, sensing something off, came over more often. She sat with Zara, listened as she hesitated through half-spoken worries. Sana smiled, offered comforting words, told her not to assume the worst. Men get distant when they're stressed. "Don't corner him," she said. Zara nodded, trying to believe it. But something in Sana's eyes felt rehearsed, like someone playing a part too well. The words soothed, but her energy betrayed her. Zara noticed the way Ayan smiled at his phone now. Not a polite smile, a personal one. She noticed how he dressed better when he claimed he had late meetings. New cologne. Freshly ironed shirts. He stopped asking if she needed anything when going out. He began living parallel to her, not with her. When they did speak, it was mechanical. His warmth had vanished, and in its place was distance dressed as indifference. One night, unable to sleep, she reached for his older phone, the one he no longer used but hadn't thrown out. It was off. She turned it on, half expecting it to be wiped clean. But it wasn't. There were no obvious messages, but an unfamiliar email account was logged in. She didn't open it. She wasn't ready. She powered it down and placed it back exactly where she found it. Her hands trembled not from fear, but from the ache of suspicion. Her body began to feel the weight of emotional isolation. Her appetite disappeared. She started missing her own prayers, a habit she'd never broken before. She felt guilt, not for any sin, but for doubting a man she once trusted with her entire soul. She sat in front of the mirror and looked at herself not as a wife, but as a woman whose dignity had been put on trial without her consent. Still kissed her forehead before leaving the house, but it felt like a formality. Empty. Detached. She smiled back, but inside she was breaking apart piece by piece. The woman who once prayed for her husband more than herself was now praying for clarity, whatever that meant, whatever that would cost. Zara didn't need confirmation anymore. She already knew. But knowing and accepting are two different battles. Her heart still looked for loopholes, still hoped for explanations that didn't involve betrayal. But the facts were piling up faster than she could bury them. Ayan's lies weren't even subtle anymore. He stopped pretending to care. He stopped covering his tracks properly. One Saturday, he claimed he had an out-of-town meeting. His suitcase was packed. But when she glanced at his travel itinerary on the dining table, the dates didn't match. She didn't confront him. She only observed, memorizing every detail. She started tracking patterns, times, inconsistencies. She found credit card bills that didn't match their shared expenses. Dinner dates at places she had never been to. Hotel charges that had no explanations. She printed them, filed them in a folder, and kept it hidden beneath her prayer mat. Her silence now had purpose. She wasn't confused anymore. She was preparing, then it happened. The undeniable truth. Ayan left his work laptop open one morning, too rushed to close his tabs. Zara saw an open email chain. Her name wasn't mentioned, but she recognized Sanaa's writing. The tone was flirty, suggestive, familiar. Photos were attached, nothing explicit, but personal enough to be damning. Poses she'd never share with anyone, smiles that weren't meant for friendship. There was also a hotel reservation confirmation under his name, with Sanaa's initials in the guest section. The same hotel from the bill she had saved. Her breath caught in her chest, but her face remained calm. No tears, no outburst. Just a cold wave of validation. She copied everything. Emails, photos, receipts. She transferred the files to a USB and placed it into the same folder under her mat. Her hands were steady. She no longer felt betrayed. She felt insulted. Two people she trusted had reduced her loyalty into something disposable. She looked back at every conversation with Sanaa, every touch on her arm, every compliment, every forced concern. It all made sense now. The late-night calls, the subtle glances, the hesitations when she asked innocent questions. Sanaa didn't just steal her husband. She manipulated her trust while doing it. That double betrayal cut deeper than anything Ayan had done. Zara didn't scream. She didn't confront either of them. She had passed the point of emotional reaction. This wasn't about begging or demanding explanations. This was about reclaiming the self-respect they tried to steal. Her silence turned into a shield. Her prayers turned into strength. She stopped speaking to Sanaa altogether. Declined her calls, ignored her messages. Let her squirm in the unknown. She wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of a breakdown. At home, she started sleeping in a separate room without explanation. Ayan didn't protest. Maybe he thought she'd quietly endure, just like before. He underestimated her. She began documenting every interaction, times he left, phone logs, his tone, his absences. She wasn't gathering evidence for a confrontation. She was building an exit strategy. One afternoon, she called her lawyer. A quiet man her uncle had recommended. She didn't cry during the meeting. She didn't tell her story dramatically. She handed over the folder and said, "I'd like to start the process." The lawyer looked at her in surprise, not because of the content, but because of the composure. She had already grieved. Now she was moving. She sat alone that night, phone in hand, staring at a photo from her wedding day. Ayan, smiling with his arm around her. Sanaa, in the background, eyes fixed on them. The same eyes that now stared at her husband. Zara deleted the photo without hesitation. She wasn't holding on to anything anymore. Love built on lies didn't deserve nostalgia. She didn't pray for Ayan that night. For the first time, she prayed for herself. For courage, for clarity, for a life beyond betrayal. And in that moment, something inside her shifted. The woman who once begged God to protect her marriage was now asking him to protect her peace. The papers were delivered on a Wednesday. No warning, no conversation. Ayan received the envelope at his office, surrounded by the silence of his own making. Inside were the divorce documents and the USB drive. No note. No emotional appeal. Just evidence and conclusion. Zara hadn't needed to shout or accuse. The truth was already heavy enough. Every message, every receipt, every photo, neatly organized, undeniable. She didn't wait for his response. She didn't care for one. Back at home, she packed only what she needed. Her books, her clothes, her mother's Quran. Everything else, jewelry he bought her, designer bags gifted during better days, she left untouched. Not out of sentiment, but because she no longer needed things that carried the scent of dishonor. She moved back into her mother's house. It wasn't an escape. It was a return to herself. Her mother didn't ask too many questions. She simply held Zara in a quiet hug that lasted longer than words could. It was the first time in months Zara felt safe. Her voice was no longer trapped in her throat. She spoke little, but she no longer whispered. The weight had shifted. Ayan tried to reach her. Missed calls, messages, even emails that swung between apologies and accusations. He asked why she hadn't talked to him first. Why she didn't give him a chance to explain. But she had given him too many chances. He used each one to sharpen the blade of betrayal. She blocked him on everything. Not out of anger, but preservation. She was done handing him her peace in pieces. Sana, too, reached out. One voice note, long and breathless, full of justifications cloaked as regret. It wasn't planned, she said. It just happened. I didn't mean to hurt you. Zara didn't respond. Some betrayals didn't deserve answers. She deleted the message and sent one text back, "You never took him from me. You only exposed what I was meant to walk away from." In the weeks that followed, Zara didn't collapse. She rebuilt. Slowly, deliberately. She started teaching Quran to young girls in her neighborhood, focusing on inner strength, not just memorization. Her sessions became less about scripture and more about resilience. Women came to her not just for knowledge, but for the calm in her presence. She never told them what she had survived. She didn't need to. Her peace spoke louder than her past. She visited the lawyer once more, this time to finalize the process. He looked at her, still surprised by the way she carried herself. "Most people don't walk away this steady," he said. She smiled faintly. "That's because they mistake silence for surrender." Zara didn't seek revenge. She didn't tarnish reputations or air secrets. But the community learned quickly. Whispers traveled. Ayan's colleagues noticed his decline. Rashid, the only person in his office who ever warned him against playing with fire, quietly informed HR about unprofessional conduct. Sana lost more than a friendship. She lost her credibility. People watched her differently now, less admiration, more caution. Zara watched none of it unfold. She was done looking back. Her mornings were now filled with light routines, watering plants, journaling, morning prayers that no longer carried hidden desperation. She didn't pray for restoration. She prayed for protection, from deceit, from weakness, from returning to anything less than she deserved. One afternoon, she took out the box that held her wedding jewelry. Instead of keeping it locked away as a relic, she donated it to a local shelter for divorced women. It wasn't a dramatic gesture. It was a quiet declaration that her worth was never tied to gold or titles or the weight of a ring. She wasn't discarding memories. She was releasing herself from the shadows they cast. Zara didn't become louder. She became clearer. People noticed the change. The way she carried her silence with purpose. The way she wore her hijab, not just with pride, but with unshakable certainty. It no longer symbolized just modesty. It became her armor, her truth, her choice made louder by survival. She never told her full story. Not because she was ashamed. But because some victories don't need witnesses. They just need peace.